Books on. Books on the brain. Welcome back to Books on the Brain, a podcast of book and nonsense. My name's Danielle.
I'm Deirdre.
And we're back. You guys, my cats are Zooms. Zoomy City, and I am... Get out of here.
It's the
How are
Sunday
you?
night Zoomies.
Sunday nights, the Lord's Day, cat zoo. Do what they gotta do.
They do what they gotta do. I have to get a new mascara because my eyes so itchy.
Eyes itchy.
Eyes itchy.
Eyes itchy.
I'm like gripping my hands in my lap so that I don't touch my eyes.
I got a... It's one of the Sky High, but it's black. Sky High mascara.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Okay.
love it. I end up like having to do that thing where you scrape off half of the mascara before you put on because it's just so clumpy.
No.
So clumpy.
I've been using Rare Beauty, which I really love the mascara. I love how it looks on my lashes, but recently my eyeballs have not been loving it, which is so sad for me because I'm allergic to like a lot of mascaras.
I find like after I use mascara for two, like not even the same, but like the same kind of mascara, I have to switch it up because my eyes are just like, no more of this.
No more. So I'm gonna have to do a little mascara shopping this week, I think.
Woo! You could get... No, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Okay, well...
If I could wink, I would wink.
You can't wink?
No. Like, if I do, it's really dramatic. It's like...
That's good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I can't.
I think it's good. Can you wink on me? No.
He's like, oh, good God.
I'm holding one of them hostage so they cannot zoom me.
I love it.
What are we doing here today, Miss Deirdre? So,
our episodes for this first month of the season of the podcast have been recorded way in advance of when they're coming out, which is not new for our podcast. No. But it does mean that some of the events that we talk about happen much before the episode airs. So it's technically not a news segment, but it's a segment that we want to do monthly. Is called, what is it actually called? What happened this month?
What happened this month? Here's what you missed on this month.
Like a January wrap up specifically of what was happening in the online bookish space, even more specifically things that happened on TikTok, because obviously Danielle and I are most heavily involved in the TikTok book community, also known as Booktok. And sometimes it can get really confusing weeding through all the things that happened. And sometimes you just want to chat. You want to chat about the things that went down. So we're talking about the things that happened in January in this episode. This episode is coming out like mid, if not the end of February. So they have happened, probably still ongoing. And I am going to say, I'm assuming you're going to agree with me, that if anything updates with the things that we talk about in this episode, or if anything major goes down, then we might tack on to the end of this and come back and be like, hey. But for now, everything will kind of be rolling out like a month-ish after. And like knowing how cyclical things are online, it's probably relevant to get in a month. So who knows? Who knows? So starting off, something that's been going on for a very long time. November. Is the HarperCollins strike. November. Do you want to take it away? Yeah, sure. Okay, so let me tell you about the HarperCollins strike, and I am an expert in strikes because my university went on strike for 6 weeks. So I know all about strikes. I'm an expert.
I'm not. I just know a little bit more than the average person. So, the unionized employees of HarperCollins, is about 250 employees, have been on strike for more than 50 days. So, they have been
at the time we're talking.
So, hopefully no more. Hopefully they deal with this. Here's hoping. Fingers crossed for our friends. But their union has been without a contract with the company, with like the parent company of HarperCollins, since April. So they've been in negotiations of like, what's going to happen with our contract? Oopsie doopsie, we got to figure something out since April. There was like a 1-day strike walkout that happened over the summer, and then officially the HarperCollins employees went on strike in November. So the main asks that they're asking for, in my humble expert opinion on unions and strikes, are not unreasonable. They want stronger union protections. They want more support for diverse authors and employees, higher wages. Specifically, they're asking for higher wages for their what they self-describe as bottom tier employees. So the employees that are currently making $45,000 a year, they're asking that to be bumped up to $50,000 a year. And they have not heard from upper management since the strike began. So they've been frozen out of any kind of negotiations. They haven't been met at any of the negotiation tables by anybody. Wah, wah. Bad news. Bears. But finally, we got news like this week, which we know is in the past for all you listeners. But this week, they finally got news from federal mediation people that a third-party mediator was going to be coming in and meeting them at the table and trying to figure something out. Finally, HarperCollins responded and we're like, we're going to work with you and we want this to work out, which seems suspicious that it took them 50 days to come to that conclusion, but it is what it is. And then authors R.F. Kuang, Neil Gaiman, Lauren Groff, and Angie Thomas are among the many writers who have expressed support for the HarperCollins strike. Staffers and more than 150 agents have said that they would not send book proposals to HarperCollins until a settlement was reached. So, and we've seen online, lots of people in online spaces, specifically on Booktok, have been not reviewing HarperCollins titles or not promoting them on their accounts in support of the strike. So I think, for most people on Booktok are very much on the same page of like supporting people and supporting diverse employees. So I'm not surprised that we've seen so much support for the union strikers on Booktok.
Yeah. I am a union employee. So
Solidarity
I am very pro-union and have major solidarity with them. I think that it's scary that they've been on strike for so long, because that is your last resort as an employee.
Mm-hmm.
At least in our union, like, people don't want to go on strike, and the upper management that we negotiate don't want us to go on strike. And strikes happen all the time with union employees. We see it a lot here in New York City. But 50 days is a long time.
It is.
It's a long time. Especially a couple weeks ago, there was information coming out that HarperCollins was hiring temp employees to fill in the duties of the people that were outside on strike, which is even more of an FU to your employees. And it's like, where do we draw the line, but like, how do we as consumers be more aware that like this is a huge corporation?
And like those numbers that came out, did you see the like, I don't know, it was like the earnings of each of the big five publishing houses for the past year?
I didn't.
It was like,
but I'm sure it was big bucks.
They were all, I think the lowest one maybe was, I shouldn't say, I don't remember who's the lowest, and I don't want to go on the record, but the lowest number was like $900 million, like in that range, and the top range was over $1 billion. And so HarperCollins was in that range, and they couldn't, like, for me, I'm like, it's so ridiculous that people who are making like not a living wage are like, hey, can I get a living wage because of the hours I'm putting in to do these jobs? That now we know how impactful these jobs are because we see the outreach of the publishing industry because of the boom of the book online spaces. But these employees are so valuable. They're the employees that are putting in the work, who are making those connections with content creators, with authors, with so many people. Like, the work cannot happen.
These are the people
them.
editing the books, making the graphics for the books. Like, they are integral to getting books on shelves.
100%. 100%. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. There's a TikTok account, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, the union account.
I think it's HPC Union or HPC Union Strike.
You keep talking, I'm gonna find it so that we can.
I was gonna say, and I think HarperCollins is the only publisher with a union. I don't know if that's factually true. I probably should have checked that before I said it, but they've had a union for 80 years.
I did see, and they went on strike in the 70s was the last time that they went on strike.
I think so. And what's crazy to me is knowing that this is most likely the only Big Five publisher with a union.
Yeah.
Are people working at other publishers making a living wage?
Who's to say?
Especially when pre-pandemic, most of these houses have offices in New York City and were requiring people to live in New York City.
Yep.
This place has always been expensive. It's never not been expensive to live here.
Well, yeah. Especially now. Crazy. The account is HCP Union. And it does say in their bio, the only unionized Big Five publisher. So I think you are correct.
There we go.
But go give them a follow. You can donate to their strike fund that's just trying to help subsidize some of the costs of people who are missing work because of the strike, because they are not being paid during this time.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we see some news coming out soon.
If not, we're gonna have to take this into our own hands. And I don't know what that means. It's an empty threat.
Me neither. Empty threat.
It's an empty threat until it's not. No, that's, I don't know why I said that.
We're not threatening people on the internet.
I'm not. I don't even know these people. Okay, this next section I also did research on. Do you want me to talk about it?
Please do, because it blew my mind.
Okay. Deirdre titled this section "The Dead / Not So Dead Author." That's beautiful. Or did I title it?
Thank you.
No, you titled it.
I think I titled it.
I like it. So in 2020, so a mere 2-ish years ago, an announcement went out on a Facebook group called The Ward, which is like a meeting place of a whole bunch of self-published romance authors, readers, editors, just like a big communal meeting space. So announcement went out on to this group that a romance author named Suzanne Meachin, maybe not, I don't know, had completed suicide due to bullying from other writers in the self-publishing industry. So a message had gone out from, I believe, her daughter on her account saying, hey,
I think so,
this happened. And people were devastated. People, fans and like fellow authors came together to fund funeral costs and to help finish editing her last book. An anthology was created and dedicated to her in her honor. Her book was used as a like, hey, this is the last book by this author, you know, pre-order it if you want it, buy it if you want it, which kind of made it a selling point as to like supporting the family and like doing something in her honor of this last book being published. And then 2 years later, think it was like January 2nd of this year.
It was literally the first week of the
Yeah,
year.
it was early January. It was revealed by Mia-chin herself, so Susan herself posted on her account saying, "Hey ho, hey, I'm back." And people were like, "What?" So she posts this whole thing, this huge message online about like, "I didn't know how to say this. I know people are gonna be mad. I've been thinking what to write for so long." Basically saying she's very much alive, she's in a good place now, and she's ready to write again. And she ends her little speech by saying, "Let the fun begin," which feels a little antagonizing, but to each their own. So during these 2 years, someone was commenting and posting on her account still. So for a while, it was the daughter, then it was other family members, and then it was an assistant. But people started to notice that common spelling errors from Susan would be in these other commenters' things, like things that she would say would be present in this. So people were like, a little weird. But whatever. Then basically, and I was not able to read this because the New York Times said I had my limit of free articles, but she did this long thing with the New York, maybe it was New York Post, I don't know. She did this long interview with them. So I have like bits of it from other news sources. But basically the husband talks about how he um talks about the night that the daughter had found the mom, the author Susan, unconscious because she had overdosed on pills. And then from that moment, they had decided that, well, he had decided on her behalf that the daughter would put out a message that said, "She's passed away. She's no longer part of this community." And then uh, mom gets institutionalized. She gets diagnosed with bipolar disorder, um, kind of in there. So there is, at the heart of this story, there is mental illness, and there is like some kind of that there is something at the heart of the story. It's not just I think what people first appeared to be very like, "Oh, this seems a little fishy." And I'm not saying it's not fishy, but there is like another side to this that I don't think people can like discredit.
Yeah.
But people were mad. People were big mad about this. It was reported to the FBI for cyber crimes, as well as local authorities were brought into this because people thought it was like like a con, right? Like pretending
Right.
to fake a death to sell books. And kind of,
But people also donated their own money to funeral costs.
yep, which is like, where did that money go? So like there
Yeah.
definitely is some weird things that went on. Um and it's kind of like, I don't know what's gonna happen next because now it's in the authorities' hands and they're stepping in to deal with it. But
Right.
Suzanne does remark, morally, I might have done something wrong, but legally, there's nothing wrong, is her stance on this.
Well, if you took people's money and you're not planning on giving it back, whether that was you,
Yeah.
your husband, or your kids,
Yeah.
that is illegal.
And even just like it it seems so weird that the husband made that choice to make this announcement without her consent. Like it just seems like
Mm-hmm.
things aren't quite lining up in the way that makes 100% sense in my brain because I'm like, it
Right. Because
just,
there's a way to make a post being like, this person needs to, like, this is somebody commenting for this person. They
yeah,
need to step away from social media for this, and
totally.
this reason without saying that they died.
Because it almost seems
And
like it's
then,
wanting to punish people. Like, I want you to feel like you have
right.
caused this.
And people felt really guilty.
Oh, yeah. And then people are now being like, was she even bullied? Like, now it's almost done
Right.
the opposite of what she wanted to achieve by taking that break and like wanting to be in the supportive community. And now people are undermining what actually probably did happen to her in the first case. Because now people are like,
Right.
what's
Because, of
happening?
course, this happened almost 2, 3 years ago
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
That it's like a lot of stuff gets lost in 2 or 3 years unless you were holding on to all the screenshots.
Yep. Oh yeah,
you
and
know?
like especially in
Like,
these,
is it easy to unearth stuff? Sure, but like if things go down in like DMs and that's where things were happening.
especially like in these small like Facebook groups, because I know we've all been part of those Facebook groups for a hot minute,
Yeah.
where it is so insular and it is so like nichey, like those are your people, you are on those groups every day. Those
Yeah.
like they become extended family, where like it definitely it's a different culture on Facebook than
Right.
I think anywhere else. But that's what we know so far, so we'll see if anything comes from it. Um,
Yes. And when this dropped, because she was an indie author
yeah,
who I think a lot of, at least the people that I know in the book tech community, were not aware of.
yeah,
All of us were like, what is going on? And then we had
yeah.
the people that were actually in that Facebook group and knew her. Like, I remember I watched one video of somebody that was actually DMing with Susan that first week of January.
Whoa.
She made a video about like what was said in DMs. And it was like, oh my God, what is going on?
Whoa.
Like, we just started the year. What's happening?
So early. It's so
Yeah,
early.
literally. It's like, it might as well be day one, because day one is for sleeping.
Day one is for sleeping. That is funny. Crazy. It's just, it's something that I feel like I wish I could read that. If anyone's read that article, please reach out. Please reach out and let me know what is in that
Send it
behind
to
that
me.
paywall. Because I am very interested
Ow.
to see what she says and what her husband say, to like not to defend themselves, but
Right.
to explain a little bit, because at the end, like at the bottom of this again, there's mental illness, and there is obviously she
Yes.
wasn't stable at the time. So I'm like, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but also, it doesn't excuse bad behavior either, right? Like there's
Right. Because
this
then the question
balancing.
is like, okay, say all you did,
Yeah,
not all you did, because they still took money from people, but
yeah,
you told people that you had moved on from this life,
yeah,
and you did not file legal paperwork. There's no false death certificate rolling around somewhere.
yeah.
You could have stayed off the internet.
You could have. You
But
should have.
if this account, or an account who was thought to be somebody related to Susan, has been commenting for the last 2 years,
Yeah.
that
Fishy.
leads to questioning like, why come back at all?
Yeah.
But also, you've had like feelers out in the community since that initial post,
Yeah. Because
so
she
things
was
aren't really.
because if she wasn't truly gone for those 2 years, if she's still in line, like is she in a better place? Has she grown? Has she, like, all these things? I don't know. Who's to say? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Wait and see.
Wait and see. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about also rocked the Booktok world,
Yeah.
and it is Booktok Festival by Barnes and Noble. Yeah, you could say that again. So in early January, the Barnes and Noble location at Union Square in New York City, which happens to be their flagship store,
Oh,
announced, yeah,
didn't know that.
because fun fact, Barnes and Noble is a New York based, and originally New York comes from New York. The original
Wow.
store from way back when
That's so cool.
was in New York. They announced that they were going to be hosting a book talk festival on February 4th, featuring
Oh, it's like
a lot of
soon.
authors. Yeah, it's next weekend. It's next weekend.
Huh.
They were going to be featuring a lot of authors, but no book talk creators.
Because we all famously know Booktok is 100% authors, 0% Booktok creators.
Correct.
famously.
It was made by authors.
Yeah,
actually.
100%.
And we just like weaseled our ways in.
Oh god.
The announcement was met with a lot of videos on TikTok with creators like Kevin, Katie Norman, Eamon's books, and Kate's books speaking out about the lack of appreciation from the bookseller towards creators. And a lot of them pointed to the fact that, you know, they have Booktok tables, but they don't actually credit creators with the books that end up on those tables. There are booksellers in other countries that do events with booktalkers in their countries or outreach, and
Indigo
there is some sort of
book club.
Yeah, like Indigo, Waterstones, like
Yep.
do outreach to booktalkers and have really started not breaching, but like building a bridge towards the community.
Yeah.
And there really hasn't been that for US creators. The announcement that was on the internet page, the website,
the www World Wide Web page. Deirdre's a million years old.
My brain do be shrinking.
That is an Instagram. That's an Instagram poll.
Write it down.
I did. I will.
It says, quote, please join Barnes & Noble Union Square on Saturday, February 4th, as we celebrate the phenomenon that is Booktok. It will be a day filled with great discussion, fun activities, giveaways galore, and best of all, the opportunity to meet your favorite Booktok author or discover a new one. Kick off the day at our Booktok Con with quizzes, games, photo booth opportunities, and mingle with major publishers who will distribute exclusive merchandise, highly coveted ARCs, and other fun and memorable items. Then immerse yourself in great discussion with best-selling authors who are defining the Booktok game at our That Thing Called Love panel, featuring Tessa Bailey, Melissa Blair, Anna Huang, Kennedy Ryan, and moderated by Ryan LaSala, and our Living in a Fantasy World panel featuring Olivia Blake, TJ Klune, R.F. Kwong, Hannah Witten, and moderated by Tracy Dion. Share the day's fun on social with hashtag BN Talks Books, and be sure to follow BN Buzz on TikTok. So this event was ticketed and is sold out, and there were 4 ticket options. Option 1 was all-day admission for $40. You got a $25 Barnes & Noble gift card, and all-day access to the event. Option 2 was 10 a.m. admission for $10. You were given a $5 Barnes & Noble gift card and admission to the event space for the Booktok Con, which I think is not the panels.
Okay.
Ticket option 3 was the romance panel admission, which was starting at 2 p.m. for $15, or is going to be at 2 p.m. starting at $15. And this is for admission to the romance panel event space. So you get a $10 Barnes & Noble gift card and admission to the event space and signing lines for the romance panel. And then option 4 is for the fantasy panel. So it was, again, $15. Entry starts at 6 p.m. with admission to the fantasy panel space. Ticket includes a $10 Barnes & Noble gift card and admission to the event space and signing lines for the fantasy panel.
What's capacity on this bad boy?
I have no idea. It's a big store, and they have probably I'm assuming they're going to be using 2 floors for this.
Just wondering how much money they're making on this.
I mean, it's sold out. So
that's why I'm like,
I don't know. I don't know what their capacity was. I mean, yeah, I don't know what the capacity was.
Tell me right now what the fire code capacity for Barnes & Noble Second Floor is, please. You should know that.
I am still pissed.
Yeah.
Like and I think the thing that makes me more pissed is that when creators were making videos like Kevin and Eamon and Kate, there were people coming into their comment section being like, you're just mad you personally did not get invited.
No one said
And I was
that.
like,
Who said that?
well, I was like, number one, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I am mad that I didn't get invited. But also, I'm more mad that not a single Booktok creator was invited and that not a single Booktok creator is moderating these panels.
It's just so
Because
strange.
the amount of Booktok creators, you didn't even have to fly Kevin out or fly Eamon in. Kate lives in New York.
Yep.
There are plenty of New York-based creators who make Barnes & Noble vlogs. Like, not to toot my own horn, but I have made plenty of vlogs at that specific store.
Yep.
I made a whole video about the history of Barnes & Noble while I was vlogging inside that store. Like, that's the only reason I know it's a New York-born company. Right? And, like, granted, I know in the grand scheme of Booktok creators, I personally was not getting invited to this event. Like, that's just where my personal tier ranking of invites is at the moment. And that's fine. But
I still think you should have been invited.
I see you shaking your head. But it is we're calling this a Booktok festival, but in reality, it's a Booktok author festival.
But also,
this is a celebration of the authors that have done well because of the work we have done for the last almost 3 years.
Like, my thing is, I would kind of beg to say that, like, some of these aren't even exclusive, like, Booktok authors.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, there are people who maybe their books are big on Booktok, but they're not people who use the platform, some of them. Like, there's authors like Nisha, who, if Nisha was on a panel, I'd be like, fair. Nisha is a booktoker and is an author. Like, for me, I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Like, seeing Melissa on there, Melissa was the only person that in my head I was like, Melissa was a creator before she was an author.
I agree.
And I was like, yeah, Melissa does deserve to be there. Absolutely. Ryan also is a TikTok creator and also an author. Tessa Bailey also creates content and has made sales because of what Booktok is doing. Same with Tracy Dion. I would say Tracy Dion is a Booktok author because her book has done very well because of TikTok. I'm trying to look at who else is on these panels.